The Pope is dead.
The throne is vacant.
What happened?
They say a heart attack.
You know how rumor spreads, and 1.25 billion souls watching.
Well Cardinal Lawrence.
It seems the responsibility for the Conclave falls upon you.
Conclave is now in cinemas. We step into the shoes of Cardinal Dean, played by Ralph Fiennes, who's in charge of setting up and supervising the election process of a new pope in the Vatican. Top job in the Catholic Church. And we follow him and his contradictions that he had to deal with while setting up this process and supervising it inside the conclave, which is completely sealed up area of the Vatican where all the cardinals get together to vote the next pope. And that's pretty much it. But what a performance from Ralph Fiennes, as expected. But what were your first impressions when you walked into to the film, Buzz?
I was expecting to see the process of picking a new pope and the in-depth kind of intricate things that we need to do, and I got just that, you know. And can I just say, you know, Stanley Tucci in this was very good too.
Yes.
You know, there's quite a few big names in this, but you know, them two alone were fantastic.
Absolutely.
As well as Ralph Fiennes. But yeah, I always knew that this process was a bit odd. I remember watching it as a kid, you know, with the smoke going up the chimney, if they've made a decision or not, you know, and the different colours meaning different things. But yeah, that's what you got. You got the ins and outs of the politics of what it is to pick a pope. Obviously, it's not based on true events, which I found out halfway through the film. I was just, I thought this was based on maybe one of the previous popes, but it's not. So it's kind of like a theatrical version of this process, but with a few plots and twists and some, you know, it's like a bit Games of Thrones-ish with the different cardinals plotting against each other, and it's like the race to the top, really, isn't it? And the moral question is what is it to be a pope, and what you need to be. Did you get that from the film, Alex?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's always interesting to see, because this goes into a bit more detail about what that process is. So, because it's a very secretive election process, essentially, and these cardinals get stuck in there, and they're not allowed any internet access, any information, any newspapers, anything like that. And essentially, all they do is they discuss the merits of each candidate, and anybody can be the new pope. And what I found interesting was the fact that in Cardinal Dean's case, he is the only one that actually is allowed to step outside because he's running the process, but at the same time he's also running. He can run, and he gets votes. And that puts him at a little bit of a conflict, especially when there are clues, because this is where the film is really interesting. There are clues or hints or accusations that the top candidate for the papacy has a very dubious secret life, and you're thinking, you know, this person is he going to break the rules of the conclave to reveal this person, to find out the secret, or is he going to try himself to win more of the vote? And that's where Ralph Fiennes' acting comes into play. But what did you thought of that dilemma that he has?
I thought we had your support. If we liberals are not united, Tedesco will become pope. You have no idea how bad it became, Thomas. The way he and his circle attacked the Holy Father towards the end. The smears, the leaks to the press, it was savage. He fought him every single day of his pontificate. And now that he's dead, he wants to destroy his life's work. If Tedesco becomes pope, he will undo 60 years of progress.
You talk as if you're the only alternative, but Adeyemi has the wind behind him.
Adeyemi? Mm-hmm. Adeyemi, the man who believes that homosexuals should be sent to prison in this world and hell in the next. Adeyemi's not the answer to anything, and you know it. If you want to defeat Tedesco...
No, this is a conclave, Aldo. It's not a war.
It is a war, and you have to commit to a side.
Yeah, it was interesting. It seems to be a little bit of lack of confidence as well from Ralph Fiennes in this film. But he doesn't think he's right for the role. He's like he doesn't want it, but it wants him, doesn't it? And as you say, it has this like almost dilemma to not have anything to interfere from the outside world with his thought process as well. But he himself is a candidate to be picked. And the majority of the film is going that he's struggling with his prayer at the moment, and it's not so much a lack of faith, but he just doesn't believe that he's the one for the job because he's planning to move on anyway after this process of selection. But you don't get to choose these sort of things, and he gets thrown into the mixer like everyone else. But yeah, it's a very interesting film, and there's quite a few good quotes in it, because one of them was, you shouldn't be worried about the people who don't want the power being the candidates. For ones who do want the power, that are usually a bit subject to corruption or just generally being power hungry and corrupt. And then obviously there's the interesting dynamic of the view of the world of the Catholic Church and its history, and I think someone cites in the film that it had a bit of an issue when the Nazis were in power, and there was a few hierarchy of the Catholic Church that was siding with the Nazi regime. I don't know about that, but obviously we all know about the sexual scandals and what have you. So it was interesting to see that depicted in the film, that this must be part of the thought process behind the selection, is that they need to, they're representing, what would it be, like 3 billion people at least in the world.
1.6 billion people in the whole world. Catholics.
I must be thinking of the Islamic world. Number. Yeah. Okay. It's really important if you think about it. It might seem a little bit old and prehistoric, but it's very important who the Pope is, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think that's good. But that's the only thing that I felt a little bit unrealistic about the film. I mean, I know from doing a bit of research about this process, because like you said, it happened a couple of times in my life, and I know it's on TV and it's all popular because it's such an exciting or like important time, like you said. But I thought it can't be this political within. I mean, I don't really think these cardinals are like the most respected people in the world, because there's about 120 cardinals around the world representing the church around in countries around the world, and these are the best people, the best priests, and the most they're intellectual and intelligent. And in the film they're represented a little bit like these scheming, overly powerful, rich or arrogant or hypocrite type of people that all they're after is the power, instead of actually discussing each other's merits and say this person has done this, has achieved this in his lifetime, and is worthy to be a pope, which is what I think the process is.
You should be careful, Thomas. Your own ambition has not gone unnoticed. This might be seen as a tactic to blacken the name of a rival.
Well, that's a despicable accusation.
Is it? I wonder if you really are so very reluctant to have the chalice passed to you. I shall pretend this conversation never took place.
As secretive as it is, that's what people are saying that this process is. That's what they do there when they're locked up in this conclave. And I felt the film was a little bit making them look too much sort of evil. I don't know if that's the word, but what did you think that's the case?
I feel like maybe, I think where you're coming from is that there's probably a few writers in a room and said, look, the concept of the Pope picking process with the, the special outfits and the burning of the signatures if they don't come to a conclusion, and the actual, kind of like, what's the word? The ritual of it all is a great. Yeah. And then they just said, yeah, it's great, but we need the characters to be a bit evil. And when that never is going to happen in reality, these are probably some of the most Catholic people you ever meet, you know, are not going to be like
Exactly.
say scheming. They haven't got to the top because they, you know, like say they've auditioned for a Game of Thrones role. You know, they're probably going to be a very old gentleman who have never, you know, merely killed an insect in their lives. So I agree with you. Yeah, you have to kind of take it with a pinch of salt. But as a concept, it's kind of cool when they dress the way they do. They have to act a certain way. That they're scheming to get to the top, isn't it? You know.
I was expecting more of the more of like the Two Popes, the film with Anthony Hopkins and Jonathan Pryce that we watched. That's what I was expecting more of in regards to the purpose of the church, more than the sort of, you know, scheming between them.
Yeah.
But the film is directed by Edward Berger, and we've seen, well, he's a Oscar winner director for All Quiet on the Western Front, and the soundtrack in this film is very much, it reminded me almost of that film.
Yes.
What did you thought of the soundtrack and the way it looks?
Sudden drums of violin chords and
Exactly.
stuff like that, which catch you off guard a few times. But no, it really sets the tone. It's funny that you mentioned. I didn't know the director is the same as All Quiet on the Western Front, and that me and you agreed really fit the bill when it came to soundtracks, because it was very alternative, wasn't it? But it worked. It really worked, and this set the tone in the film. It was almost like everything's on a knife edge, wasn't it? You know, and you couldn't really be comfortable. And you know, it was dramatic, even though essentially it's a load of old geezers in a room dressed in robes. It's very dramatic, the film, isn't it? You know, but just on that point though, with the Two Popes, I'm totally on your side. I think if there was a few more scenes of two intellectual characters, maybe talking about the morals of what it is to be a cardinal / pope in this modern world, you know, so maybe a few more conversations on race, maybe a few more conversations on religion, women in the church. They could have even talking about the scandals of the church a bit more, but you didn't really get that, did you? It was more kind of just like a whodunit, really. And again, it's not to criticize it too much, but I think it could have been so much more of this film, especially with the actors that they had.
Absolutely, bang on. I mean, the actors, it's all the actors are top class here, and it feels a little bit of a missed opportunity, but still, at least Ralph Fiennes is fantastic. I mean, I think he's a shoe-in on the Oscars this year, but strong contender. So yeah, very good film.
Thank you very much for watching our review on Conclave. If you wanted to watch a similar review by me and Alex, you can click the link here, which will take you to the Two Popes, which is just as good, if not probably slightly better than this particular film. Anyway, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you again next week.